this is Britt Caswell with another example video. In this video, we are doing example 2 from section 4-2 in the SavvasRealize Algebra 1 textbook. We are looking at comparing the graphing and substitution methods for solving systems of equations. So the problem says that there's a vacation resort that's offering surfing lessons and parasailing. If a person takes a surfing lesson and then goes parasailing, they will pay a total of $175. That's where they're getting this blue equation right here. Is the cost of surfing, cost of parasailing is $175. So then it says on Friday, the resort collects a total of $3,101 for activities. Now they're using that information as well as this graphic where they talk about the number of people parasailing and the number of people surfing, and together they're able to make this second orange equation. Now when I go to solve this, I'm actually going to use substitution first, and then I'll use graphing, just because I prefer substitution. Now remember, when we go to substitute, we need to have an equation where one of our variables is isolated, or by itself. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to subtract y from each side of my blue equation here so that my x is alone. And then I could take this orange equation, and where the letter x is, I could substitute in 175 minus y. So I'm going to leave a space where x was and write the rest of the equation out. And where x goes, I substitute in 175 minus y. And remember to use those parentheses or you're going to get the wrong answer. So now I'm going to use the distributive property to go ahead and get rid of those parentheses. So I'm going to do 20 times 175, which is 3,500. And then 20 times y is 20y. And then don't forget, the rest of the equation's still here. So I'm still going to put in the 16y equals 3,101. Next, we need to collect our like terms. So right here, the 20y and the 16y gives me a negative 4y. And I still have 3,500, and I still have 3,101. So now I'm going to subtract the 3,500 from each side. Which when I do that, I get that negative 4y equals $399. And if I divide by negative 4, sorry, that's negative 399. So if I divide by 4, I get 99.75. So my y value is the price of parasailing. So it costs people $99.75 to go parasailing. So then I can either go back to my blue equation or my orange equation, or I can go back to this blue equation where I changed it around a little bit. It doesn't really matter. And I can find the cost of surfing. So for surfing, I'm just going to go right back to this blue equation since I have it here, and x is alone. I'm going to say 175 minus y, which is 99.75. So I get that x is equal to, open up my handy dandy calculator, do my subtraction, and I get 75.25. Now remember, with word questions, you usually want to answer with word solutions, so I'm going to write a sentence explaining this. It costs $75.25 to take a surfing lesson. $99.75 to go parasailing. Which makes sense, it would be more money to parasail than to surf, right? Because you have to have the boat and everything. Alright, so now that we've done that, now we're going to compare this to the graphing method. So I'm actually going to start with the orange equation just because it has the bigger values that I need to deal with. Okay? I'm going to write the orange equation down here just so that I can remember it. So I have 20x plus 16y equals 3101. And so what I need to do is I need to find my x-intercept and my y-intercept. So to find the x-intercept, I'm going to plug in a 0 for y. And to find my y-intercept, I'm going to plug in a 0 for x. So here we go. So I have 20x plus 16 times 0 is equal to 3101. So 16 times 0, that cancels out, leaving me with 20x equals 3101. Now that 20 and the x, they're multiplying together. So I'm actually going to divide both sides of the equation by 20. So I get that x is 155.05. We're just going to squeeze that in there, okay? So now I need to find my y-intercept. So I'm going to plug in a 0 for x. So here, 20 times 0 cancels out, leaving me with 16y equals 3101. And when I divide both sides by 16, I get 193.81-ish. So that's what's going to go here. So now that I know those points, I can kind of pick out what I want to count by here. So I think that in terms of my axis, I should probably make it count by 20s. So right here I'm just going to write scale equals 20. So each box is worth 20. So I have 155.050, so 20, 40, 60, 81, 20, 40, 60. So this first point is just shy of 160. And then here I have 0 and then 193.81. So that'll end up being right here, just shy of the 10 marker. And then I could draw my line. I'm going to try to draw that line as straight as I can, but y'all know me, I don't know how to draw straight lines to save my life. So now I'm going to use the x plus y equals 175, and I'm going to do the same thing. Okay. Now I can convert this to slope-intercept form if I want to. It doesn't really matter. I'll go ahead and I'll do that just so you guys can see it. So I'm going to subtract x from each side to get y alone. So I have y equals negative x plus 175. So my y-intercept, 20, 40, 60, 80, 1, 20, 40, 60, 80. So my y-intercept is here. And then I have a slope of negative 1. Alright, so I'm going to fall by 1 and run by 1 over and over and over again. Which is going to look roughly like this. So you can see from my graph that at some point in time, it crosses. But it's so hard to tell where. Alright, and so when I can't draw very well, it's going to get me a wildly wrong answer. So doing my best from this sketch, I think I'm probably about here where I actually cross. Maybe. So that's at 80 on the x-axis and then like, I don't know, 87 or so on the y-axis, which is between $5 and $12 off from my actual values. So here I was able to estimate with a graph, okay, but I was able to get the exact value with my substitution. Alright, so substitution is going to be the better option than the graphing option. Especially if I'm trying to plan a budget. So here's another problem. It says on Saturday, this vacation resort is going to offer a discount for water sports. So it says to take a surfing lesson and to go parasailing, it costs $130. So remember, that's x plus y here is 130. So then on that day, 25 people take surfing lessons and 30 people go parasailing, and they collect $3,650. So they want to know what is the discounted price of each activity. Now we learned graphing doesn't get us the exact answer. So I'm not going to graph this because I want the exact value. I want to know what that discounted amount is, and I don't want it to fluctuate. So I'm going to go ahead and take this red equation and solve it for one of our variables. I'm going to subtract y to the other side. So I get x equals 130 minus y. And then I'm going to take this purple equation, and where the x is, I'm going to leave a space because I need to write that 130 minus y there. Now remember, always use parentheses when you substitute. Now that I've done that, I'm going to go ahead and distribute. So I'm going to take the 25 and multiply it to each term here. So 130 times 25 is 3,250. And then 25 times y is just 25y. Now I'm going to subtract the 3,250 to the other side of the equation. So here I get negative 25y plus 30y is equal to 400. Now I could have combined those like terms right away if I had thought about it, but I didn't think about it right away, so I'm going to go ahead and combine them right now and get 5y. So it's okay if sometimes you have to combine them later, alright? So don't panic if you do that a little out of order. So then my last step is to divide out that 5 that's in front of the y, and that gets me $80. Alright, so remember the y is the parasailing. So I'm going to say it costs $80 to go parasailing. And so now I need to figure out how much for surfing. So I have this red equation that's really convenient. So I'm going to plug in the 80 where the y is. So 130 minus 80 is 50. So to complete my word answer, and $50 to learn to surf. So there we have it. That is a comparison between graphing and between substitution. Until next time.